Hello. Welcome, everybody, to our February Headliners Luncheon, a look ahead with the Pirates. I'd like to welcome you. My name is Justin Phillips. I'm your 2026 Manatee Chamber Chairman this year, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you. The hardest thing to do if you really care about the Chamber is to break up conversation with people. I'm just going to tell you, it's like the hardest thing to do. But I'm so glad that you're all here today. And we're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Looking for, flag. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If I could take a minute before we get started and just ask everybody to silence their phones for today's event, that would be great. I want to recognize a few people. First, I'd like to recognize some Manatee Chamber past chairs and three guys that I really look up to that have been instrumental in my walk. First, I'd like to introduce Stu Henderson, and he may be out of the room real quick, but he'll be back in just a moment. Jeff Podobnik with the Pirates. Welcome, Jeff. And Ernie Withers. Glad you're here, Ernie. We have several elected officials in the room, and I'm going to ask them to stand, and if you could hold your applause to the end, that would be great. First, I'd like to introduce Mayor from the city of Bradenton, Mayor Jean Brown, Councilwoman Marianne Barnaby, Councilwoman Pam Coachman, Councilwoman Jane Coker, and Councilman Kemp Schuessler. From Manatee County Government, I'd like to introduce Commissioner Mike Ron. And next, I'd like to mention our annual headliner sponsors with Career Source Suncoast, Florida Power and Light, Manatee Health, the Mosaic Company, the Realtor Association of Sarasota and Manatee, and Cheryl Wealth Management. Let's give a round of applause to our elected officials and to our sponsors. Welcome, everybody. Next, as we always do, I'd like to recognize our platinum investors here at the Chamber, Brown and Sons Funeral Homes and Crematory, Carr, Riggs and Ingram, the City of Bradenton, Freedom Village of Bradenton, IMG Academy, Manatee County Government, Manatee Health, MCR Health, the Mosaic Company, NDC Commercial Real Estate, NDC Construction Company, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Bradenton Marauders. Let's give them a quick round of applause. That's why we're here today. Raymond James Wealth Management, Bruce Body, the Sarasota Bradenton International Airport, the School District of Manatee County, Seaport Manatee, and South State Bank. Let's give our platinum sponsors a round of applause. So the Pirates organization has a long history in Bradenton and Manatee County. Bradenton has been the Pirates spring training home since 1969. The Pirates joined the Manatee Chamber before they even fielded a team here in Bradenton. They joined in 1968. Today, the Pirates and the Marauders are incredible sponsors of the Chamber and invest at the platinum level of Chairman's Circle. In addition to Jeff Podobnik's service as a past chair of the board, Craig Wachekas served as a chair with the Manatee Young Professionals just a few years ago. So thanks for your service, guys. It was an early signal of the significant commitment and investment the Pirates organization would make in our community, even off the field. As we know, they play at Lecom Park, right here in the heart of downtown Bradenton, which opened in 1923, 103 years ago. Can you believe that? That's amazing. On that note, did you know that Lecom Park is one of the oldest ballparks in the country still being used for spring training? I'd say that really makes our community very special. On December 9th, 1920, the Manatee County Board of Trade, known as the Manatee Chamber of Commerce today, voted to bring professional baseball here to stimulate the local economy. It worked. 100+ years later, the economic impact of baseball and the Pirates and the Marauders created tens of millions of dollars each year for our local economy. In addition to the significant economic impact, the Pirates and its employees are also known for their strong community impact, supporting many nonprofit and civic organizations in our area. And just a little side note, what they mean to me. When I was 10 years old, there used to be a boys club right next to Lecom Park. Don, you just told me they tore that down, back in the 90s, I think is what it was. But anyways, when I was a kid, I used to go there. I'd play basketball and play with my friends. But when the Pirates would come to town, man, you want to see a lot of really excited kids run into the fence. I was one of them, trying to pull myself up on a 6-foot fence to watch the Pirates. That's a very fond memory I have here of the Pirates. I've lived here all my life, and this is really a special organization, and they give back in so many different ways. I even think about my son who played baseball. He got to play at Lecom Park his high school year because of their partnership. Again, just a couple of side notes for me personally about how much they mean to me. Today, we're going to hear from Ben Cherington, General Manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, on the team's connection to the Bradenton area, preparations for the upcoming MLB season, and the leadership behind the organization. So I think they're going to serve lunch. Is that right? So we'll take a little bit of a break, and then we'll bring Ben up. Ben Cherington was named general manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2019, becoming the 13th GM in the history of the club. The 2026 season will mark Ben's 28th in Major League Baseball. He is responsible for the entire baseball operations department, which includes overseeing Major League club as well as scouting and player development. Prior to coming to Pittsburgh, Ben served as the Vice President of Baseball Operations for the Toronto Blue Jays and was the Executive Vice President and General Manager of the Boston Red Sox. Cherington graduated from Lebanon High School, where he was a pitcher on the varsity baseball team and played varsity ice hockey. He attended Amherst College for his undergrad and has a master's degree in sports management from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Cherington was named Major League Baseball Executive of the Year in 2013. Please help me welcome Ben Cherington.
All right. Thank you. This is fun to be here. I'm going to ask for some forgiveness to start. I don't have slides today. I'll explain why, but honestly, nobody likes my slides anyway. They're just full of numbers and graphs and stuff, and it's boring. So we'll just keep it old school, talk about baseball, talk about Bradenton, have some fun. Really do appreciate being here today. I want to introduce some others from the Pirates who are here with me. Jeff Podobnik, Ray Morris, Craig Warseka from our Florida operations crew. They dominate everything that is about the Pirates in Florida and other places, but Florida right now, you're familiar with those folks probably, and we appreciate how hard they work to make Bradenton such a welcoming home for those of us who pop down from Pittsburgh whenever we feel like it. And Jimmy Turdinich is here. There are hundreds of people who work for the Pirates, and if you created a leaderboard of all those people based on baseball fandom, like who actually loves the game and is a fan of the game, and ranked like 1 through however many employees the Pirates have, I actually think I'd be in the top 10, honestly. I think I would be in the top 10 in that leaderboard, but Jimmy's number 1. And I appreciate Jimmy truly for how much he truly loves the game. Pirates certainly, but the game, and we need more folks like Jimmy. So thank you for being here. Flew down last night, and we were joking before. Like, it has not been above freezing in 2026 in Pittsburgh. That is not an exaggeration. It has not been above freezing in 2026 in Pittsburgh, and I think we've had about an hour of sun. Maybe a bit of an exaggeration. But this is spectacular to be here today, and I'm very happy about that. It's also true, and actually this might be interesting for some of you who are involved in, there's people in the room who are spend their lives like taking care of communities, right, and managing communities and cities, and that's what a lot of you folks do, and that's a really hard job. I'm not taking any position on this. I'm just sharing the news that we had a massive storm in Pittsburgh earlier this month, and again, it hasn't been above freezing since then. So what happens to snow if it doesn't go above freezing? It just sits there. And the city seems to have decided, at least in Pittsburgh proper, just to literally leave it there. There have been basically no plowing. So it's been a fascinating and fun experience to drive around Pittsburgh for the last 3 weeks. It's kind of like a Mad Max movie. I drive a 2014 Toyota Tacoma, and people make fun of me for that. Like, why don't you get a new car? Well, it works. It starts every time I turn the key, so I don't need a new car. But let me tell you, in the last 3 weeks, I was winning in Pittsburgh. You throw that puppy in low 4, and it's fun. I'm just like popping over snowbanks and stuff. Anyway, driving down here is a lot more fun, and it really is nice to be here. So, yeah, Justin talked a little bit about Bradenton, the history. Jimmy reminded me, 58th year for the Pirates in Bradenton. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And that is unique. That's not common to have that level of relationship between a team and its training sister city, so to speak, and it's really special. And it's my 7th year now coming to Bradenton for spring training, and I really mean this. I believe Bradenton is the best place in the world for spring training, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that, share a little bit about my opinion on that. But I believe that, and it's for a number of reasons. The history is one of those reasons. I do think it means something to have that long a history between a team and the city. It feels like, it's part of the fabric here. The Pirates are part of the fabric of Bradenton. You get to Bradenton, it feels like home. There's a lot else about it. I think, first of all, if you took out a map of Florida and you knew where all the teams trained, and you just threw a dart at, like, ideally, if you were starting from scratch, where would you want to be? You'd throw it right at Bradenton. From a selfish perspective in baseball, what do we want? We want to maximize our hours, the hours we can spend at the facility getting better, training, improving, getting ready for a season, and you want to minimize the amount of time you spend on buses. It's that simple. And so there's no better place in Florida from that perspective to be than Bradenton. That's where you'd throw the dart at the map if you could. And the people certainly are part of that. In the time I've been here, it's just a really warm, supportive, passionate, interesting, fascinating group of people that make Bradenton home, and full of, from my perspective, like ton of great baseball fans who care about the Pirates. So that makes it special. It's made it really a home for a lot of our players that have chosen to buy places here, live here year round. Getting beyond that, I think we were talking about this earlier, and somebody in here might not share this opinion, but it is my opinion, that one of the sneaky, valuable things about a spring training location is the range of housing options, right? There are some places in baseball where teams have spring training that really work well for the player making $15 million a year, and really don't work well at all for a minor league player or a minor league trainer, and they have to drive an hour, back and forth to find a place to live, or vice versa, or the opposite, right? Can also be true. And the fact that Bradenton really works for everybody. Anybody that is involved with the Pirates can find the right place to live and get to where they need to be pretty easily, and that's a real advantage. So a lot of those things make it are part of why it's the best place for spring training, in my opinion. But then specific to our ballpark, and I guess I'm focused on what's now named LECOM. I don't believe, I said this before, I don't believe there is a more intimate place in the world to watch Major League Baseball than LECOM Park. It is the most intimate place in the world to watch Major League Baseball. And it's worth thinking about that for a second, because I think that's something that's worth preserving. If you think about where is Major League Baseball played? Well, it's played in 30 major league cities, right? And major league ballparks, except for Oakland and Tampa. They're kind of playing in minor league ballparks last year. But for the most part, 30 major league ballparks, and some of them are really nice, including the one we have in Pittsburgh. It's spectacular. It's a fantastic ballpark, but they're big structures. It's a different experience watching a game in those places, and it's fantastic, but it's different, right? And spring training always used to be the place where you could see it, touch it, feel it, a little bit more intimate. I remember as a kid begging, I was a Red Sox fan growing up, begging my parents to bring me to Winter Haven. Red Sox were in Winter Haven for a long time. Finally, they did one year, and as a 10-year-old, literally walking around, being able to get close to the players that I idolized and feel like you could touch it and feel it and smell it a little bit. I'll never forget that, and that's what spring training always was. But take a tour of spring training ballparks in Arizona and Florida now. They're not all like that anymore. Some of them feel pretty close to major league ballparks, honestly, in terms of the experience. That's not true at LECOM. It still feels like what spring training is supposed to feel like. That intimacy is I think, something that's worth preserving. It's not easy to preserve it, right? Because, sometimes people agree that there need to be renovations or changes, and sometimes the players themselves don't always want as much intimacy as we'd like, and we have to nudge that a little bit. But it's worth preserving that as much as we can, and I do believe LECOM does that better than any other place in the world right now that is hosting Major League Baseball games. So not something to take for granted, right? Like, to be able to watch a Major League Baseball game in that environment, you can't do that anywhere else. It's pretty cool. It's worth preserving, and I know people in this room are fighting to preserve that, and I appreciate that. So part of what makes Bradenton so special. So, all right, a little bit about Bradenton and let's get into the team. I believe this is the best team we've had since I've worked for the Pirates. It's not perfect, and then we're going to meet as a staff tomorrow to kind of get spring training going. And what I'm going to share with the staff as we get that meeting started is we're going to talk about the roster, we're going to talk about the players we've assembled, we're going to talk about our belief in the players we've assembled. I'm going to say the same thing. I believe it's the best team we've assembled since I've been a member of the Pirates. And with the Pirates, we're always going to have to beat expectations. We're always going to have to flex up from what, maybe the numbers say we should be or the public says we should be. We're always going to have to beat that expectation. We always have to be the team that is greater than the sum of its parts, so to speak. And so that'll be part of what we talk about tomorrow as we get into spring training. Roster building is not entirely done, but getting closer to being done. Now it's time to help a group of people come together and be better than they are if they were just the individual parts. But I do believe it's the strongest roster we've assembled, has the chance to be the best team we've had since I've been a Pirate. That's exciting. There are a number of reasons for that. One is, and I believe you'll get to know him over time. But we have a manager named Donnie Kelly who actually has been doing the job since last May, and he's been a member of the Pirates for several years now, but relatively new to this job now as manager. And I think you'll get to know him over time. What stands out to me about Donnie is he's willing to do the hardest things necessary to build the culture that he believes will give us the best chance to win. And now that sounds simple. That sounds like what every leader should do, right? Do the hard thing, do the hard work necessary to create the culture that gives you the best chance to win. But it's not always easy because, as we know, sometimes doing those really hard things comes with risk, comes with potential downstream effect, collateral damage, even risk to himself. He had the job on effectively an interim basis last year from May through the end of the season, and he went after some things inside our clubhouse because he really believed that some things needed to change culturally. We needed to be behaving in different ways. We needed to be treating each other in different ways. We needed to be respecting the game maybe even in different ways. And he went after some stuff with individual people in our clubhouse that he really believed in, but came at risk because there was a risk that challenging in the way that he did could have some downstream effects even on him. He didn't have the job permanently, right, at the time he's doing this, and so he's taking a risk. He went after it anyway, and that I'm able to see him doing that. It was really the thing that made me feel strongest about naming him the permanent manager, is that he was living his true self and going after what he really believed and sticking up and taking these risks at a time when the job wasn't guaranteed to him. On top of that, I mentioned Jimmy T is at the top of the leaderboard of loving baseball with the Pirates. Actually, Jimmy T is probably close to the top of this leaderboard too. But Donnie Kelly on the leaderboard of who cares about the Pittsburgh Pirates, who will do anything and put himself secondary to what's best for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and who cares more about others than himself with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Donnie Kelly's at the top of that leaderboard. He has made personal sacrifices for the Pirates many times over the years. He has always put the team ahead of him. He puts others ahead of him. This is a person I believe we can trust to lead this team. Has really quickly developed the trust, I believe, in the respect of the player group. So that's I'm going to start with Donnie Kelly. That is part of why I am so excited about the opportunity we have in front of us, and you'll get to know Donnie, I think, some of you over time. Number two, we have the best pitcher in the world, and that's a good place to start. Paul Skeens is remarkable on the field, but we also benefit from him being remarkable off the field. He's got a standard that he holds himself to, that he holds his teammates to, that he holds me to, that he holds the organization to, that we need. We need people to be shooting and aspiring to be the best in the world at what they do. That is what that's how Paul Skeens lives, and he expects the people around him to live the same way. And we need as much of that as we possibly can in our clubhouse to achieve what we want to achieve as a team. We can't settle for being okay at something. We can't settle for showing up and doing the basics, right? Like, we have to exceed that. Paul lives that every day, models that behavior every day. You see it on the field when he pitches, but he's also doing that in the clubhouse off the field. Can't rely just on that, right? We need 26 leaders, not one. But Paul gives us a really good head start. But that leads to the third thing, and why I'm excited is that I think for the first time since I've been here, we're really starting to get that, getting closer to a situation where we can have that sort of iron sharpens iron thing going on inside our team. We've had a little bit on the pitching side already the last couple of years, or that combination of strong veteran pitching and really young, talented young pitching kind of coming together, and it's sort of like they crash toward each other, make each other better. The competition makes each other better. Everybody steps up from the competition, but also the experience benefits from that because they see these young guys pushing at them, potentially gunning for their jobs, but it works the other way too. Or the young pitchers benefit from that as experienced pitchers show them how to get through a 6-7 month season. There are things about being a major leaguer that are different than the minor league. So we've had a little bit of that on the pitching side. I expect we're going to start to see that on the position player side, that deeper iron sharpens iron, veteran and young talent coming together, kind of crashing together and challenging each other. Paul is certainly a part of that, but I think we start to see examples of that on the position player side too. Baseball America just ranked us #1 farm system in baseball. We don't stand up and pat ourselves on the back for that ranking. The only reason you work towards that is because you believe it's going to help you win games in the major leagues. The reason to have a strong farm system is to win at the major league level. But I think that is reflective of what I talked about, where you're going to start to see that the benefit of the veteran player group being pushed by that young position player group and vice versa, and that's really exciting for us, and I think will be fun to see play out during spring training. I think we'll have the hardest decisions that we've had since I've been here in terms of actually putting the 26-man roster together as we get later into March. There'll be some really good players heading to Indianapolis, which will be tough for them, but probably good for us actually that's happening. So a little bit about our team. Again, thank you for all that you do to make this place such a great place to live and come, kind of make it a second home for us a few weeks a year. We want that relationship to continue. It's really important to us. Like I said, worth continued investment and preservation of that intimacy that is here in Bradenton that I don't think exists anywhere else in a spring training location. And there's just something unique about the Pirates in Bradenton. It's worth investing in. So, yeah, we can talk about anything. If people have questions about the team or players or me or, Jimmy's got all the answers about, if you got actually detailed questions about baseball history, Jimmy's got those answers. Yeah, sorry.
Got a mic for you? Oh, no, I will.
Just wanted to ask, with the expectation of the community that supports the Pirates both in Pittsburgh and here, how difficult has it become to meet those expectations with the salary cap fluctuation all the time?
Ooh, that's a good one. Getting right into it. Yeah, I mean, I've experienced in 30 years in the game, basically experienced some of that change over time. Where I remember a time, and I kind of lived both sides of this world. I worked for the Red Sox for a long time, which is considered sort of a bigger market in quotes, and on the other side of it. But I remember a time specifically where with the Red Sox when we got to the point in our payroll where we noticed that we were 2x relative to the lowest payroll. Like we were kind of at the top, and the lowest payroll was effectively about half of what our payroll was, and we were sort of like living with the Yankees, and the bottom was about half of that. So it was like basically 2x. And now you look at it, and it's about 6x. That's the difference between the top and the bottom, and that's not the case in any other professional sport in the United States. That's not the structure that other sports live with. So I'm not the one who is going to be in a position to do anything about that, probably substantively. But I believe that long term, that 6x gap is probably not great long term for the game. None of those teams are doing anything wrong. They're doing exactly what they should do given the current circumstances, right? They're just making rational decisions for their teams. So the Dodgers signed Kyle Tucker, and there's a big reaction to it. I think they did exactly what they should do. Right? Like they signed a great player within their means that is going to give them a better chance to win the World Series. That's what they should be doing. So it's nobody's fault that this is happening. It does, but it does change the dynamic in terms of like how teams are competing with each other. On a day-to-day basis, we literally don't think about it. I can tell you that. Like our job is to win in Pittsburgh, find a way to do it. Like I won't use the profanity that was involved in this, but Bill Parcells told a friend of mine one time who was like complaining. A friend of mine was at a wedding reception with Bill Parcells and got sat at the same table. Bill Parcells, iconic football coach, and he worked up the nerve to ask Bill, like kind of share some of his frustrations with Bill Parcells. This is what I'm going through, dealing with this, dealing with that. Bill Parcells just like kind of ignoring him, and eventually looks over. Hey, nobody gives a, and I won't say the other word, but that's kind of true, right? Like nobody gives a what the Pirates are up against. We have to solve that. My hope is over time, the people that care about the game at the highest levels will do the hard work to make it as competitive a field as it possibly can be. It's different than other sports right now.
As a Massachusetts native and a fourth-generation Red Sox fan, thank you. I appreciate you coming down here. I've been down here 20 years. Love going to LECOM. You're absolutely correct. It's an intimate ballpark. You spoke a little bit about Baseball America ranking your farm system as number one. No doubt in my mind that it is. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your eye is on young talent coming up through that farm system over the next couple of years, what we might expect to see at the Marauders or eventually on the Pirates?
Yeah. First of all, thank you. I was sort of thinking about Fenway Park, which happens to be in Boston, and obviously you've been to, I'm sure, a number of times. And that is the sort of model that I have for LECOM, right? Like at one point, there was serious consideration of tearing Fenway Park down, of doing away with it and building a modern ballpark somewhere else in Boston. And wise people decided no, like it would be, there was a way to preserve that and create what you needed to create to support the Red Sox long term, but preserve Fenway Park. And that was a decision that was made. It was not an obvious decision at one point at all that decision was made, but it was made, and it's a different circumstance. But at some point, the sort of specialness of Fenway Park, somebody decided, no, let's hang on to this. That's a little bit of what I'm trying to say with LECOM. Yeah, I think that because we've had times during my tenure where our farm system has been ranked high in the past. Certainly when you have Paul Skeens in it coming through, he by himself is going to help the ranking probably. I would say the difference now is that compared to other times when our system has been ranked highly is just the ceiling and the upside that is present in the players that we would view at the top of the system is pretty legitimately high. We think you can build a strong farm system in different ways. If you have 40 players that have a chance to get to the major leagues and play some role, sometimes that adds up to a strong farm system, right? And that's depth and strength, and there's good things that come from that. And then if you have 5 players that have a chance to be stars, that's also strong in a different way. And hopefully we have a little bit of both, but I do think the top of our farm system, just the ceiling is higher than, maybe, and Connor Griffin leads that, and people hear about that. Certainly he does, but I'd say the first, I think like 5 to 7 players at the top of the system have, pretty legitimate upside. We believe doesn't guarantee anything. We have to do the work to help them optimize that talent and take full advantage of it and reach that ceiling over time. But it's exciting to think that we have guys that don't just have a chance to get to the big leagues, because that is hard, but have a chance to be pretty special players.
And from a perspective of where I sit now and all the things that we do, the collaboration between the Pirates and the city of Bradenton along with Manatee County, because as we were talking earlier, a lot of the players come here and they may not be able to find a house in the city of Bradenton, but from the economic impact when they buy houses throughout Manatee County, it's a great partnership. And I think we see that 58 years has been over a long time, several ownerships, several elected officials and going. And I think one of the things that we're just proud of is the way we work together now. And I know we don't always work with you as much. We work with Mr. Nutting and Mr. Williams from the behind closed doors of negotiations of things. But it's one thing that, as far as LECOM, and I hope you've seen a lot of it, of what we're doing with City Park there, which not only is going to improve the ballpark part of it and the major league part of it, but it's going to improve our community for a long time to come. And you mentioned about Washington, and Jeff was asking about that, where they built a ballpark and there wasn't a lot around it. We're building other things, amenities, that will be great during this 2 months of Major League Baseball, but it'll be for our community. And I think that's one of the things Mr. Nutting and I have talked about numerous times, of how we grow the economic development while still sponsoring the baseball as much as we can. So we just want to say, from a city standpoint, and I'll speak on behalf of our county commissioners over there, the one that's here, thank you for what you do. And my job is hard, the elected officials' job is hard, but I think your job is harder because you're getting a lot more of the book of face, as Councilwoman Barnaby would say. So keep up the faith. We're all behind you, and obviously, and I told this to Mr. Nutting and Mr. Williams, that World Series would be fun the next year in Bradenton.
It would be fun.
So we would like to have that.
Let's do it.
I was 12 years old in 1979, and when they came back in '80 and some of the celebrations, I remember, and it was fun. From a community standpoint, obviously you know that. So thank you for what you do, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mary. Yeah, and celebrating is something that in baseball truly should be done together. And I remember when we were fortunate enough to win the World Series in Boston, it really was a celebration, not just in Boston but in Fort Myers, and that should be the case when that happens. And let's make that the case. And I'm not nearly as deep into the vision and planning around City Park, but what I've seen certainly reflects that idea of taking something that's special, finding a way to enhance it but preserve what's special about it. Continue to make it not an asset for the Pirates, but also an asset for the community. It can be both together. So it's exciting to see what will happen there.
Mine's kind of an easy question here. I don't know a lot of GMs of MLB programs, and so as a general manager, what is the hardest part of your job? Like, what's the most challenging part that you do, especially dealing with players who I'm assuming make a little more than you do? Not all of them, but some of them do, right? To deal with that mentality. The Paul Skeens of the world is not that common, right? Where you have somebody who is good on the field and off the field. But as a GM, what does that day look like for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the hardest part about the job is that it's a Major League Baseball team it's a public entity, right? It's something that people care about. People in Pittsburgh care about. Hopefully, people in Bradenton care about. A lot of people care about, and there are stakeholders that have an interest in the team and care about the team in different ways. Some of those are with the team, work for the team, play for the team. Some of those don't. Some of those are outside the team. And managing the relationship with all those stakeholders in a way that allows us to stay disciplined and focused to what is best for the baseball team, that's the hardest part of the job. Because in some cases, some of those stakeholders, we're just not going to be fully aligned on what we're valuing or, what we believe is best for the baseball team. In a lot of cases, we are. Paul Skeens is a good example. Paul and I have disagreed on things. Paul and I have had difficult conversations about things, challenged each other. He's challenged me. But those are not hard conversations because I know so clearly, and I hope he knows so clearly, that we are aligned on the simplest, most important thing, which is we just want to win baseball games. So when you're aligned on that you'll disagree and sometimes have tough conversations, but they don't feel hard because you're just trying to help each other solve something and get better. It becomes a little harder when you're trying to solve something with stakeholders where you're actually not sure if you're fundamentally aligned on the same thing, fundamentally aligned on what we're valuing. So I think that's probably where the hardest part of the job comes in.
I got a question. Which veteran players on your roster are you most excited about getting to work with the younger guys coming up through the system, and what do you think that they can bring to those younger players?
Yeah, there's a bunch. I think we talked about Paul. He's 23, so it's weird to call him a veteran, but he sort of has become that already. Certainly excited about the impact he has. Brian Reynolds is a really quiet guy. He's he's not going to stand up in front of the room and do speeches. What Brian does is bring incredible reliability and everyday work ethic, post, which in baseball terms just mean he shows up and plays. And over a 6-month season, that's a really valuable model to have one of your best players who's simply going to find a way to post every day and play the game the right way and play hard. You watch Brian Reynolds run the bases in September when the team's out of it. He's running just as hard down the line as he is in spring training. And that you don't take that for granted because it doesn't happen all the time. That's not always true. And so for young players to see that, he doesn't have to say a word. By playing the way he does, he is a model. He is setting a model or a standard for young players in his own way. In terms of acquisitions this offseason, I'd probably point to Ryan O'Hearn based on what we know so far. Obviously, you do as much due diligence as you can on the players that we acquire. It's not perfect, but we talk to as many people as we can. We talk to teammates, coaches who have been around them, people in clubhouses, et cetera. And everybody that we talked to about Ryan O'Hearn said the same thing, and that is that no matter how it's going for him, he's going to put the team first, and he's going to try to help the guy next to him. And if you get those two things from a player in your clubhouse, especially one that's if they're producing and they're in the lineup and they sort of have that gravitas that comes with that, that's that's a really powerful thing. Simple as that. Just that, keep it about the team, try to find a way to help someone else in the room every day. That's the reputation that Ryan O'Hearn comes into the Pirates with. I expect that that's what we'll see, and we've seen a little bit of that already, so excited about that.
I'll keep the energy going here. You mentioned the farm team and the farm system that you have, and you mentioned a key piece of that at the top of that was Connor Griffin. And from what I understand, that young man is exceeding expectations at every level. How much, based on what we see in spring training aside, how much of that decision is yours? How much of that is Don Kelly's? And what percentage chance do you give him to hit the MLB right out of spring training here?
Yeah. In terms of like the decisions, basically the way it works, I think with most teams, certainly with the Pirates, is that my relationship with Donnie is really important, and the way we think about that is like we need to help each other do our jobs as well as we can, and I rely on him to help me do my job better, and hopefully it works the other way. So as it relates to decisions about how to manage the team, who's in the lineup, when does the pitcher come out, like what's our in-game strategy, what culture are we trying to instill in the clubhouse, anything related to managing the major league roster when it's set and is playing every day, those are Donnie's decisions. I don't make a lineup decision. I don't decide, when a player comes out of the lineup. I don't decide who's substituting for who, when a pitcher comes out, all that stuff. We have some input into that because we do the best we can to provide good information for Donnie and the staff to use to think about that objectively and in good ways using the best information we have, but it's his call. So a little bit of, I have some input, but he has veto. Like he's got the veto power and that's his. And it just works the other way with the roster decisions. He's got input. We're not doing anything without his input on a roster decision, whether that's signing a free agent in the winter or calling someone up during the season or a decision like the one you're referring to. Not going to do any of that without his input, and sometimes he'll have really strong opinions and sometimes he won't. If he's really feels strongly, then that's certainly going to make me think longer about it, but ultimately sort of I have the veto when it comes to who's on the roster and who's not. And then as it relates to Connor, yeah, he's met every challenge that we've thrown at him, exceeded every challenge that has been thrown at him. He's 19 years old. He's had 200 plate appearances roughly above A ball. So it would be really outside the norm, I would say, for a player that has, at that point, to play in the major leagues right away. I think basically the position we've taken is let's keep putting the challenges in front of him. He doesn't have full control over it, like for the reasons I said, but he will influence it, to some degree. Exactly what the timing is, I don't know. It's also important to keep in mind that because we believe so strongly about him long term and believe really strongly in what he can be, how good he can be, how much that can impact the Pirates, well, we want to get that right too. It's important. We have a responsibility to be really clear on what gives that the best chance to happen. And if we decide that based on all the information we have and input from a lot of experts that what gives that the best chance to happen is to invest a little bit more time in the minor leagues and give him a chance to, maybe go through some more things in the minor leagues, experience AAA at some point. He's never done that. Well, then that's an argument, right? Because we're trying to maximize both him and the Pirates long term. But we just haven't gotten to that yet. We're going to keep putting challenges in front of him, and we'll see where it leads us.
Give it up for Bennett.
All right, thank you.
Let me just say that was great, and thank you for your passion for the game. Thank you for your leadership inside of this organization and all the collaboration and partnership that you've given to this community. And I want to also thank you for your team here that you have here in Bradenton between Jeff and Ray and Craig. I've gotten to know them over the years. They're just amazing human beings. I think it's a testament to your organization, and our community is behind you 100%. So thank you. Let's give the whole team a round of applause, please. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed yourself today. We're so thankful that you took time out of your day to be here. Hope you found value in it. And before we go, we just want to thank again our headliner sponsors. You can see them there on the screen. Thank you to them that continue to support this, where we can bring people in and have these great conversations. And we're also going to just thank the METV team with Chris Dolan and his team. They're over here. So over there. Okay. So thank you for all you did for today as well. Thank you so much. Lastly, you're going to see some events that are coming up. As you know, we have this week, many of you will probably be attending the 63rd annual dinner. I believe it is sold out at this point, or is there some seats left? Nope, sold out. Okay. Also, we have the Manatee Chamber Day at Lecom Park coming up on February 27th. Super excited about that. The team's asked me to throw the first pitch. So, Jeff, if I could get a little help, a little practice time, I'd really appreciate that. Thanks. So we hope you can come out for that. It's going to be on the boardwalk. It's going to be a wonderful time, and I hope you can make that. Next month, we are going to have a headliners luncheon with Paul Hoback, Jr., the new CEO of Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport, on Wednesday, March 11th. So hopefully you can make that as well. Thank you for coming today, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks.